When we are converting fractions into percentages, what we need to do is multiply that fraction by 100 over 1. That is our first option. So with 4 over 5, the first option to get 4 over 5 into a percentage is to multiply it by 100 over 1. And what we can then do is cross cancel, so 5 goes into itself once and 5 fits into 100 20 times. So 4 times 20 is equal to 80 and 1 times 1 is equal to 1, so we end up with 80%. The second option of working out 4/5 as a percentage is to get that 4/5 into an equivalent fraction out of 100, because we need to understand that a percentage is a fraction out of 100. It is a number out of 100. So as soon as you've got your denominator to be 100, your numerator will automatically be your percentage. So what do I multiply 5 by to get to 100? I multiply 5 by 20 to get to 100, and I therefore have to multiply my 4 by 20 to get an equivalent fraction of 80 over 100. So as I mentioned earlier, as soon as you've got your denominator to be 100, your numerator will automatically be your percentage. So again, we've got 80%. So as you can see, you can use either option 1 or option 2. You can also convert your 4 over 5 into a decimal. So 4 over 5, convert it into a decimal, and then multiply your decimal by 100 in order to get your percentage. So 4 over 5 as a decimal, what we can do is first get 4 over 5 into an equivalent fraction out of 10, which is 8 over 10, and 8 over 10 is equal to 8 divided by 10. And 8 divided by 10 is 8.0 divided by 10, which we bring in one decimal place, and we've got an answer of 0.8. And then we can multiply 0.8 by 100 in order to get 80%. Because 0.8 times 100, we say 0.8, and we can put in some placeholders. Multiplying by 100, you move your decimal place 2 places to the right, and you end up with 80. So 0.8 times 100 is 80. So 4 over 5 as a percentage, once again, is equal to 80%. So you can use either option 1, 2, or 3 to find out how we get from 4 over 5 into 80%. If we would like to convert 64% into a fraction, what we need to do is remember that any percentage is just a fraction with a denominator of 100. So as soon as your denominator is 100, your numerator will be your percentage. So we know that we can write 64% as 64 over 100. So 64% is equal to 64 over 100, and that is your fraction. It's as simple as that. The only thing that we now need to do is simplify this fraction. So because we should be quite familiar with simplifying by this stage, let's start with 4. Let's divide both 64 and 100 by 4. 100 divided by 4 is 25. And 64 divided by 4 is 16. So we end up with a simplified answer of 16 over 25. Let's have a look at another option, at another percentage. If we have got 37.5% and we would like to convert this into a fraction, a simplified fraction, what we need to do is put our 37.5 over 100. Now, because the numerator, or the percentage, which is now our numerator, has a decimal point, it becomes a little bit more tricky to simplify this fraction. But all we need to do is we need to multiply the numerator by 10 so that we will end up with a whole number. So 37.5 multiplied by 10, we take our decimal point and we move it one place to the right because we're multiplying it by 10, and that gives us an answer of 375. And because we multiplied our numerator by 10, we have to multiply our denominator by 10 as well, so we end up with 375 over 1000. Now 375 over 1000 is easier to simplify because they are both whole numbers. Now we need to find a common factor between 375 and 1000. So we need to have a very good idea of our 125 times table, because 125 will appear or be very useful to us when we are working with our denominator of 8. So I'll explain that further just now, but what I'd like to show you here is how many times 125 fits into 1000. So we've got 125 there. So what we need to do is our 125 times table on the side. So 125, 250, 375, 500, 625, 750, 875, and then 1000. So we don't actually need to do a division there. What we would do as a division is how many times 8 fits into 1000, which is an important one. So 8 fits into 1000, 8 into 10 goes once, then there's 2 left over. 8 into 20 fits twice, remainder 4, and 8 into 40 fits 5 times. So when we are simplifying 375 over 1000, because our denominator is 1000, we need to check to see whether our numerator is a multiple of 125, and we can see here that it is. So 3 times 125 gives us an answer of 375, and as you can see here, 8 fits into 1000 125 times, or 125 fits into 1000 8 times. So we can simplify this fraction by dividing both the numerator and the denominator by 125. So 1000 divided by 125 gives us an answer of 8. And 375 divided by 125 will give us an answer of 3. So we have a simplified fraction of 3 over 8. So 37.5% as a simplified fraction is 3/8. Right, let's just rub that out for now, and let's have a look at another example. Let's look at 87.5%. 87.5% is 87.5 over 100. And in the same way as with 37.5%, we need to multiply both our numerator and our denominator by 100. So we end up with 875 over 1000, because we multiply our denominator and our numerator by 10. And 875 over 1000, we need to check whether our numerator is a multiple of 125, because we know that 1000 is a multiple of 125. So 125 fits into 1000 8 times. Let's see if 125 will fit into 875. And we can see there it fits in perfectly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. So 125 into 875 fits 7 times, and 125 into 1000 fits 8 times. So 87.5% is equal to 7 over 8 as a simplified fraction. Let's have a look at 28%. 28% is equal to 28 over 100. So all we need to do now is simplify this fraction. Let's divide 28 and 100 by 4. 28 divided by 4 is 7, and 100 divided by 4 is 25. So 28% is equal to 7 over 25 as a simplified fraction. Let's have a look at 75%. 75% is equal to 75 over 100, and 75 over 100 we can simplify down to very low terms because we've got a very high common factor. We can divide both 75 and 100 by 25 to get 3/4. So 75% as a simplified fraction is equal to 3 over 4. Three over 5 into a decimal requires us to get 3 over 5 into an equivalent fraction out of 10, 100, or 1,000, whichever one of those 5 will first fit into. So we know that 5 fits into 10 twice, so we multiply 5 by 2, so we multiply our 3 by 2 as well. So 3 by 2 is 6, so we end up with 6 over 10, or 6 divided by 10, which is equal to 0.6 because we bring in one decimal place. So 3/5 as a decimal is equal to 0.6. Let's have a look at 5 over 8. 5 over 8 as a decimal, we again need to get 8 into an equivalent, we need to get 5 over 8 into an equivalent fraction out of either 10, 100, 1,000, or any number that has a 1 with zeros at the end. So we know that 8 doesn't fit into 10 and it doesn't fit into 100, but 8 does fit into 1,000, and if we have forgotten about that magic number, we work out how many times 8 fits into 1,000. 8 fits into 10 once, remainder 2. 8 fits into 20 twice, remainder 4. 8 fits into 40 5 times with no remainder. So 8 times 125 gives me an answer of 1,000, and I have to then multiply my 5 by 125. So if you are not sure of that, you can do that on the side, and you will end up with an answer of 625. So 5 multiplied by 125 is equal to 625. So 625 over 1,000 is equal to 625 divided by 1,000. So we bring in 1, 2, 3 decimal places and put in our placeholders, and we end up with 0.625. So 5/8 as a decimal is equal to 0.625. Let's have a look at 2/3. 2/3 as a decimal, we can try and get into a fraction out of 10, 100, or 1,000, but it will be quite difficult because 3 does not fit into 10, 100, 1,000, or any number with a 1 and zeros at the end. So what we need to do is use our knowledge of fractions being the same as divisions, and we then put our 2 inside our division house because it's always your numerator divided by your denominator. So we've got our numerator inside the division house as 2 and our denominator outside the division house because we are dividing by 3. Then we can just put 0.000 after our numerator because we know that 2 is equal to 2.000. Putting that 0.000 at the end does not change the value of our 2. So we just take our decimal point up directly and we do a normal division. So let's say 3 into 2 doesn't go. There's 2 remaining. 3 into 20 fits 6 times. 6 times 3 is 18. The difference between 18 and 20 is 2. So 3 into 20 again is 6 with a remainder of 2. 3 into 20 is 6 with a remainder of 2. So as you can see, this is recurring. So 2/3 as a decimal is 0.666 or 0.6 recurring. Or if you'd like to round it off to the nearest thousandth, it would be 0.667. So this is quite a handy tool to remember when we're using our division house, because we can use that for any of our fractions. So if we are working with 5/7, again 7 will not fit into 10, 100 or 1,000, the same as 3. So we put our 5, our numerator, inside our division house with 0.000 and our 7 outside the division house because we are dividing by 7. Then we just work out what 5 divided by 7 is by bringing up our decimal point directly. And 7 into 5 doesn't go, so we carry our 5 over. 7 into 50 fits 7 times. 7 times 7 is 49. The difference between 49 and 50 is 1, so we carry our 1 over. 7 into 10 fits once, remainder 3. Because 1 times 7 is 7, the difference between 7 and 10 is 3. So 7 into 30 now fits 4 times, and we can leave it as 3 decimal places. So the answer to our 5/7 into a decimal is 0.714. (12/16) into a decimal. What I would like us to first do is make sure that the fraction is always simplified before converting it into a decimal. So 12/16, we can divide both these numbers by 4 because 4 is a common factor. So 12 divided by 4 is 3 and 16 divided by 4 is 4. So 3/4 into a decimal, we can multiply both of these numbers, by 25 in order to get a denominator of 100. And we end up with 75/100, which is equal to 75 divided by 100, and that is equal to 0.75. So 12/16, which is equivalent to 3/4, gives us an answer of 0.75 as a decimal. Right, so let's have a look at some other examples. 14/42. We know that 7 fits into 14 and 7 fits into 42. So let's divide both of them by 7 to get 2 over and into 7 into 42 goes 6 times. So 2/6 can be simplified even further to 1/3. So 1/3 as a decimal, what we need to do is put our 1.000 into our division house because 3 does not fit into 10, 100 or 1,000. And then we put our 3 outside because we are dividing our 1 by 3. So 3 into 1 doesn't go, we bring up our decimal point. 3 into 10 fits 3 times, remainder 1. 3 into 10 fits 3 times, remainder 1, and so on. So we end up with 0.3 recurring, or 0.333 if you would like to give 3 decimal places. So 14/42, or 2/6, or 1/3, those are all equivalent, and our answer as a decimal is 0.3 recurring. If I would like to convert my decimals into fractions, and especially simplified fractions, what I need to do is, if we consider the number 0.2, I need to have a look at how many decimal places my decimal has. So a decimal place is the digits, the number of digits after my decimal point. So in this example, 0.2, we have only got one digit after the decimal point. So we have got 2 as our numerator, and because there's only one digit after the decimal point, we've got it out of 10, which only has 1 0. And the reason that 2 is our numerator is because once we have figured out how many decimal places there are, then we can ignore your decimal point and we just have a look at what that number is. So 0.2 is exactly the same as 2. So we've got 2 over 10, but now we can obviously simplify that to 1 over 5. So 0.2 as a simplified fraction is equal to 1 over 5. Right, let's have a look at 3.5. 3.5 will be equal to also something out of 10 because there's only one decimal point. And once we've dealt with our decimal points and we've made sure that it's going to be out of 10, we can ignore that decimal point and that will be our numerator. So 35 is our numerator. Because there was only one decimal place, it's going to be out of 10. So 35 over 10 is our fraction, but now we need to simplify it down. So let's divide both 35 and 10 by 5. 35 divided by 5 is 7, and 10 divided by 5 is 2. So we end up with 7 over 2, which is your simplified fraction, and it is an improper fraction, so we can convert it to a mixed number. So 2 fits into 7 3 times. 3 times 2 is 6, so there is a difference of 1 over 2. So 3.5 or 35 over 10 is equal to 7 over 2 as a simplified fraction, or 3.5. Let's have a look at 0.875. 0.875 as a simplified fraction. Again, what we need to do is consider how many decimal places there are. So in the number 0.875, we have got 3 decimal places. So therefore it's going to be out of 1,000, which has 3 zeros. So that is our denominator. Once we've dealt with our denominator, we ignore the decimal point and we have a look at that number. So 0.875 or just 875 will be our numerator. So we end up with 875 over 1,000, and we can simplify that down by dividing both 875 and 1,000 by 125 to get an answer of 7 over 8. So 0.875 as a simplified fraction is equal to 7 over 8. Right, let's have a look at 0.125. Again, 0.125 has 3 decimal places, so it's going to be over 1,000. And once we've dealt with that, we have a look at our numerator is going to be 125. So 125 over 1,000, we can simplify by dividing. Again, we can divide them both by 125 to get an answer of 1 over 8. So 0.125 as a simplified fraction is equal to 1/8. When we are converting decimals into percentages, all we need to do is multiply by 100. So if we would like to convert 0.27 into a percentage, we multiply by 100. So we go from our decimal point 2 places to the right, and we get an answer of 27%. If I would like to convert 1.03 into a percentage, I need to multiply 1.03 by 100. So I move my decimal point 2 places to the right to get a percentage of 103. If I would like to convert 0.03 into a percentage, I need to multiply 0.03 by 100. So I move my decimal point 2 places to the right to get 3%. Converting 0.308 into a percentage, I need to multiply it by 100 to get 30.8%. 0.982 into a percentage, I multiply by 100 to get 98.2%. If I would like to convert a percentage into a decimal, all I need to do is divide by 100. So converting 93.7% into a decimal, I need to divide by 100. So I go from my decimal point 2 places to the left, I put in my placeholders, and I end up with 0.937. If I would like to convert 28% into a decimal, I need to bring in 2 decimal places because I am dividing by 100. So I bring in 2 decimal places, and I end up with 0.28 as a decimal. 3.07% as a decimal, I need to bring in 2 decimal places, and I put in my placeholders. There's my new decimal point, so I've got an answer of 0.0307 as a decimal. 9% as a decimal, again, I just need to divide by 100. So I put my placeholders in, and I divide by 100 to get 0.09. 37.5% as a decimal, again, I just need to divide by 100. So I bring my decimal point 2 places in, put my placeholders in, and I end up with 0.375. And just remember that when you're converting from that percentage into a decimal, you do not include your percentage sign anymore because it's no longer a percent, it is now a decimal.